allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mark, the agenda has some changes, does it?
Just one change, Mayor. We're gonna do the monthly financial report on pension liability at our next meeting, so the 17th. That's the only
So
change.
that's off?
Yeah, that's off for tonight.
So you happy with that, Carla?
Yeah.
Okay. No special orders study session. The first one has been brought to us by Federal Screw Works and Jennings Mobile Home Park. It's regarding a noise issue. And Brad, what do you have there for us?
I'll let Michelle actually start with just the history and background for a minute, and then I'll get into the ordinance information.
How we do?
We're ready.
The subject came up due to some air cannons that Screw is using to deter seagulls.
Can't hear you
Hear ya.
at all.
Okay. The request came about over some air cannons that Federal Screw was using to deter seagulls from landing on the roof. And a noise complaint we received from some neighboring property owners in regards to it being a nuisance to them when the cannons would go off. We've worked with Federal Screw over the last year to try to find a solution in changing the location of the cannons, changing the number of cannons, changing the direction that they shoot in order to make the nuisance go away. We haven't had any success. It can still be heard by neighboring property owners. And so Federal Screw has written a letter in regards to a code violation for the noise ordinance. And they are here, I believe, to ask for the city to review that ordinance to find a solution for their seagull issue.
Sure, and I'll pick up from there. So we looked at, understanding that Federal Screw wanted to have the ordinance looked at. We looked at the noise ordinance. The city's noise ordinance is kind of split up between sections 90.15 through 90.19 in the code right now. The first section, 90.15, is a list of noises that are specifically prohibited, which is typical in most noise ordinances. That does not include any kind of cannon popping explosive noise, so that's currently not prohibited in that section. Section 90.16 deals with exceptions, so certain noises that are allowed, for example, police sirens, ambulances, things like that, are accepted out. Section 90.17 is really the section we're talking about here. It deals with noises in the industrial and commercial zoning districts. Federal Screw is in the industrial district, I believe, right, Michelle? And that ordinance section has several subsections. So what it does is it limits noises above a certain decibel level. Depending on whether it's the industrial district or the commercial districts, there are certain decibels listed in that ordinance. And then it has certain exceptions for spike noises, which this probably qualifies as a spike noise, and that it's a short duration noise, which is 10 decibels higher than that. My understanding is that the noise cannons that Federal Screw is using don't meet those decibel limitations that are currently in the ordinance. So they're compliant with that in that they don't exceed that decibel limitation. However, there is, at the very beginning of section 90.17, kind of a catch-all provision. And I'll just read you that provision because that's really what's at issue here. It says, no industrial district or commercial district uses shall generate noise that tends to have an annoying or disruptive effect upon uses located outside the immediate space occupied by the industrial commercial district uses, if those uses be one of several located on a lot or uses located on adjacent lots. That's confusing even for me to read to you, and I'm sure it's not clear when you hear it. And there's some case law out there from 2016 where the Michigan Court of Appeals has invalidated constitutionally invalidated a provision in an ordinance that basically held in that case anything that destroyed the peace, tranquility of a surrounding neighborhood is the language used in that ordinance. The court said, nope, that's too subjective and too vague, because what destroys the peace is a subjective decision and can lead to an arbitrary enforcement. So in that case, the court invalidated that provision. And based on that case and the language used in the ordinance as it's drafted, I don't believe that we'd have a lot of success enforcing that if we had to take it to court. So based on that, I wrote you a memo in your packets with different options that are available. I think that my recommendation would be, no matter what, the city would repeal that first provision, the catch-all provision, because it's likely not enforceable anyway. It'd be very difficult to establish what tends to annoy somebody. And then with regard to how the city were to deal with this noise cannon issue with federal screw, there are several options. One would be leave it as is with the decibel levels. If they don't exceed the decibel levels, then they're compliant. Two would be you could change the decibel levels in that section 90.17, lower them if you think that they're too high right now. They allow for too much noise. You could lower those decibel levels so that it would catch the noise cannons being used and therefore require them to either make them quieter or not use them. Another option would be to just list noise cannons or similar devices in that section 90.15 list of specific noises that are prohibited. That would effectively prohibit noise cannons in the city anywhere. Or you could create some sort of hybrid solution where you prohibit such noises, but then in the exceptions clause, add in they would be accepted out, or you could use them during specific times or during specific seasons to address the seagull issue that some businesses are facing. So there's several options you have. I think all of them would kind of be a first step would be to repeal the current catch-all provision that we don't think is enforceable. And then from then, after that point, you can make several choices as to how you want to proceed, whether you prohibit them outright, whether you allow them in certain circumstances, or whether you allow them at lower decibel levels. So those are just some options that we came up with, and it's really up to the commission as to how you want to proceed.
I have one question for Michelle. I've talked to an expert who measures decibels, and holding your phone like this really doesn't count.
Yeah, we have a decibel reader, so I don't use my phone.
There's a lot of things like how many feet off the ground it has to be and how far and all those things.
I'm sure. We obviously don't have that capability, but
So we'd have to hire somebody to do those measurements. If we were going to, make a decision based on decibels alone, we need better readings.
Yeah, you gotta have good readings because you have to have them and hold them in court. So you have to be able to introduce, whoever took the decibel readings would have to testify about how they were taken, what device they were taken on, that they were accurate. All of that would be subject to a court finding that it met the standards for, an accurate reading.
Okay.
And so that would be one cautionary thing about just relying on decibels. That's why most ordinances in the cities does have a list of specific prohibited noises that is not dependent on decibels, just that type of noise is prohibited, so.
Thank you. Commission questions before I want to talk to the two parties that are most involved? Anyone?
Have you heard of any other cities that are doing something different? Or what are they doing with regards to this? Have you found anything?
I haven't talked to any cities in regards to how they handle noise ordinances. But as far as seagulls, Muskegon has done some work with seagulls, deterring them. And they have like a laser grid system on one of their buildings to deter it. And then we also talked with the DNR and how to go about so you can get permits to shoot them, and that process was fairly expensive.
Mark?
I called the city manager and Department of Public Works person in Muskegon a couple times. They've never gotten back to me on it. They have a system on their city hall, I know. That's what Michelle's referring to.
Other questions from commissioners? The problem stems from federal screw. Rick, what do you have to say about that whole thing?
I'm Rick Ulrich, plant manager at Federal Screw. We have approximately 180 employees, 180 families, that it is our job to protect them from the birds. This problem started about 5 years ago. It's continued, I'd say, double over the years. We started with the cannon last year. We ran it, I believe, from March till the 10th of July. You guys sent us a letter, and we basically made it through the mating season. We didn't have a problem with the birds after that. We received a letter roughly 2 weeks ago stating that the cease and desist letter, we turned it off. We have nests up on our roof right now, and they're coming in by the day. We have multiple machines that use cooling tower water. It plugs the filters, creates downtime. If you drive by Federal Screw, when we don't have the cannon going, your car is painted. Mayor, I believe your truck got it when you were there. Federal Screw's been in the area since 1978. We don't want to create any waves, any problems. We have not been able to find a way to protect our employees from disease, our equipment from harm. We just did $10,000 worth of filters on our makeup airs because packed full of bird feathers. You know, we're not trying to, year-round run this thing. I've set it from give or take 15 minutes, 8 o'clock to 4 p.m., just trying to keep them moving, and it seems to work. Myself, I'm asking for some help. If we could have a few months in the spring where we could run it. We've done our own decibels. We are under, with our equipment. The industrial park, I feel, should be treated differently than the rest of the city because, you have semis coming in and out. You have the loader over the city with the beepers going. All our semis back up with the beepers going. Myself, I've went around town listening. If I can hear it, I can barely hear it. We have it pointed towards the woods, away from everybody. Basically, I think the DNR, we met with them. They were over $100,000 to be some assistance. I've been working with yourself and Mark for the last 2 years. What can we do? You guys have the same problem at your water plant, the airport. They keep laying eggs and more are coming, and we have to do something to protect our employees. That gets in the water system, there's gonna be disease spread.
Thank you. Commissioners, questions for Federal Screw Works? Anyone? Next, Rosemary?
I have a question.
I'm talking to Rosemary right now. She is the key person, then we'll talk to you. Everybody can talk. Rosemary, do you have a statement?
Yes, I do. Well, I got too many statements. I think this is the 3rd year.
Rosemary, can you use the,
Oh, I don't want to.
do we have that portable one? Do we have a portable?
Oh, I don't talk on that one. And I don't like being up here either, but, he talked about one thing that kinda got me. He talked about taken away from his employees, and he's got so many employees. What is being taken away from me is to provide a quiet place for my residents to live. So that's another concern, but I'm gonna start, and he talked 19, and I wish you no ill, but I've got a group of people. And that first year that we had a problem, you turned them off. And I think I told Mark, what a terrific employer. He turned them off. And I thought, Mark, I think you can probably verify
Oh,
that.
yeah, no question you said that.
Went in and talked to him. But listen, there's a lot of people that live in there, and it comes right up through the laundry, right up to the house, right in my bedroom. I took, and I couldn't find my number of times that it popped the one morning. I've left town and gone shopping up to Cadillac to get away from it.
I shouldn't have to leave my home to get away from that. My people that live in there, wonderful, wonderful people, they don't deserve to be woken up or listen to that. You wouldn't want to come over there and live. I know part of the problem. It's a mobile home park. But we're people. We're people like everybody else. We deserve quiet. We deserve a peaceful place to live. It's been wonderful the last week, but it was wonderful that first year when he turned it off. But I'm tired of fighting the system. But somebody said to me, they said, you got another fight in you. I said, yeah, maybe one or two. But come on, people, we're people. We deserve the quiet that you have over town, that you have on Bailey Street, you have on Lilac, wherever. And talk about being there in 1970 or 75. That park was started by Norm Tetzloff in 1957 and 58. Rich and his parents took over that park in January of '64. We've been there 60 years. That's my life. My job is to provide a place for those residents to live, that they can live in peace. And it's being taken away. And I'm not a happy camper.
Thank you, Rosemary. Now, for the rest of the discussion, since the two leads have gotten more time than usual, from now on this particular subject, 3 minutes. And whoever wants to speak, raise your hand, tell us who you are, where you're from, and if you can speak loud enough, do it, otherwise you
Oh, I speak loud enough.
Okay.
I'm Barb Burhans. I was the one that first came to the city about this cannon. They told me they had nothing to do with it. I had to go to the police department. I went to the police department and complained about it. I live right on Milton Street. I have a husband that had a stroke. At night, if you can hear that, it's going to keep him awake because he's right in the living room. So I had complained about it. The first time I came to the city meeting and complained about it again, and this is the third time. So it's been going on for a while.
Thank you. Others? Please.
Hi, May Emerson. I live in Jennings Mobile Home Park. I have concern if you repeal the ordinance language before adopting new ordinance language, because isn't that going to open it up to a lot of possibly grandfathered things?
It won't open any grandfathering. Grandfathering is a term used for zoning, and this isn't really a zoning ordinance, it's a police power ordinance. So it wouldn't affect in terms of wouldn't grandfather uses in.
So while there's no ordinance, things wouldn't get grandfathered?
Nothing gets grandfathered, but to the extent that you would try and enforce, if we were trying to enforce that provision to say that those cannons tend to annoy, we wouldn't be able to do that, obviously, if you repeal it.
I understand that,
Yeah.
but wouldn't it be better to adopt a replacement before repealing?
You could, that's an option, you could do that. But I mean, the issue is the enforceability of it as it is currently. So as it is currently, there's some case law that suggests it might not be enforceable as it is.
I understand
yeah.
that. It's been on a lot of zoning issues. Also, do we have any idea what the system they're using in Muskegon costs?
We did look it up. I think we speculated it was in the $20,000 range, and I have no idea whether that would be big enough for a facility like Federal Screw. There's a big building, big roof. I think there's multiple units up there now, so I think one of those is 20,000.
Is there any funding available to help them put something like that in?
Not that we're aware of, but we could certainly look. Not that I'm aware of though, offhand.
Please, in the back.
My name is June Swanson, and I live in Jennings Trailer Park. If you repeal that, what keeps Big Rapids Products and all the other
Exactly.
manufacturers from putting those cannons on their roofs?
Or doing
Because
other
it's
things?
irritating every single day, every 15 minutes, boom, boom. And I'm telling you, my neighbor on the other side works
nights, so he sleeps during the day. Not peaceful, though. It's sad that it's gotten to this point, that they don't respect us as community members because we live there in the apartments across the street from us. They have to be just as irritated as we are.
Thank you, June. Others on this issue? You want one rebuttal there, Rosemary?
I just want to say, I got 3-4 things, I'll say them quick. I had a gentleman that has just moved into the park, needed help putting his building up, metal building. He called a buddy. Now, they didn't know, and this buddy didn't know anything about that, but you know, he said to him, are there any unusual noises that take place in there? Anything bang or anything, you know? How are you going to handle these veterans that maybe go into the housing that we are building, the affordable housing? I understand they have to sign something for 5 years or that, whatever it is, I don't understand that part. What happens to those people? You get a veteran over there that can't handle that and they're locked in. What happens? They've heard it out at Belmont. I heard it up at the cemetery. The cemetery, a lot up there, up on the hill. Come right over. People, it's serious. You don't allow fireworks in the city before. Well, they get to do it before and after. That's not allowed. You can't shoot a gun in the city. Somebody said you can't shoot a BB gun. I don't know anything about a BB gun.
Okay. Others? The commission has not taken this up as a whole. Mark and I met with the U.S. Forest Service. No, agriculture, what is it?
USDA.
The DA is the one who kills the seagulls. I don't plan on eating them, but the USDA does it. And they have huge criteria, and we'd have to hire a person to the tune of about $100,000 to take care of killing the seagulls. So that kind of held us up. That seems like a lot of money. But this may be the only way we can resolve this problem. Whether we can, how we can get funding or whatever, but that may be the route we're heading toward. And we'll study it. This is just a study session. We're not deciding anything tonight unless somebody has a motion that they want acted upon. Anyone? Anybody else before we close this part? Please.
Would you want to look at finding one of those systems like they have at Muskegon if it works for the 3 places and maybe possibly partially fund it?
To us, Rick ought to get on that. He's the guy at Federal Screw. He should
But
be.
he's only one of 3.
What's that?
He's only one of 3 places. Didn't they say the water plant is, the airport the 3rd?
Yeah, there's
Rick, did you want to make a comment, Rick?
I would. We've spent probably $25,000-$30,000 over the years trying to do other things than the cannon. I did research, had the laser company come down. They're about almost $20,000 a copy. Our roof's 245,000 square foot. We'd probably need 4 of them up there. It's real money, you know, and our whole thing is we gotta keep the disease out of the building. We don't need 180 families with swine flu or whatever they get from seagulls pooping all over in the water system. And just the comment about you're just a trailer park. I lived in a trailer. That's not what Federal Screw's about. Our employees have lived in your park. And I'm appreciative that you give us, housing for our employees. You know, we're not just going after, because we have a choice. I mean, it's out of control. We're talking 2,000 birds flying around.
We got it, Rick. Mark, if you would take that up with each commissioner this week, get their ideas which way they want to go, and we got to make a decision and act on it.
Will do, Mayor.
All right. That concludes that discussion, the study session. Next is public comment, or let's do the minutes. Do we have a motion for approval of the minutes of the May 20 and May 28 meeting?
So moved.
Questions, additions, comments? Anything, Karen?
I need to know who said that.
She did, and I seconded. Thank you.
Hearing no further discussion, all in favor of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Public comment not relating to things on the agenda. There's a lot of people are here for certain things on the agenda. We'll not talk about those now. We'll talk about them when that comes up on the agenda. Is there anybody who has public comment on things not related to the agenda? Please. Terry.
Terry Ventusia. I'm gonna come over here so I'm loud enough. I'm running for Macassa County Commissioner, District 6, City of Big Rapids, west of the Muskegon River. And the reason I'm telling you that is I've been out walking and talking to a lot of my constituents, or hopefully future constituents. And I have a couple of things that they're asking me to just bring to your attention, and you guys can decide when and where and how you can help. One of the complaints they had is by Big Rapids Middle School on East Grand Travis. They're talking in Michigan and East Grand Travis where it comes together. They've noticed that you've been doing the crosswalks for the kids all over the city, but there aren't any there. And they're saying that the people come out of the back end of BRMS and they come at very high speeds, and they're scared that those kids are gonna get hit. They're asking for a little person, the little stop sign guy, to bring to their attention that there are kids right there. And we're at summer right now, I realize that, so there's time. But that was one of the complaints that they had. And then I talked to Kim Wortley's mother, and her complaint, she lives right across from that little park, right around the corner from there. There's a little tiny park that was set, and she's right by East Grand Travis. And she said that on the trail on the west side of the river, there's no bathrooms. And she's asking if you can get a porta potty up there on that trail or near that trail so that those people, because she said by the time they get down by her house, they typically have to go, and that's what they do. So she's just asking for that. And those are the two main things. And then I just have one. This has been really difficult for me because I go on 4th all the time. Well, I go down Baldwin Street Bridge, and then I hit 4th and go out to Maple. And when I'm coming back on 4th, that building that sits on the corner, it used to be Nichols Market. It's been a couple things, but Nichols Market from when I was young, that building juts out pretty good. So you can look, when you're at that corner stop, you can see down the hill, great. You can see 4th across, great. But when it comes to Baldwin Street, you have to jut out into that lane in order to look, because you have the Wolverine people that are coming through, and they stop. And then they hit that gas and go on down that hill. And they go so fast that when you jet out and don't see them, then suddenly they're right there. And I'm asking, I don't think a yield sign would work, but I am asking a stop sign that you consider a stop sign for that corner. So they stop once and then they can just take it slow and stop again, just to let 4th Avenue. It's very difficult to get out there. Or we could shave off the edge of the building. That would help too.
You just buy that building and take care of that.
Really? Yeah.
We'd
okay.
all be with you
so,
on that.
So I am accepting donations for that if anybody's interested.
Well, we agree.
Yeah,
Think of
but
pawn shop.
that's all I have, so thank you.
Thank you. Other public comment unrelated? Please.
Greg Jones. I've been trying to follow what's going on with Goshen and Green Township. There was a comment made, and I'm trying to figure out if there's any validity to it, because what the comment was that Green Township owes Big Rapids for sewer and firefighting. And supposedly...
They're both paid.
They're both paid.
Yes.
That's all I needed. Thank you.
Others, public comment. New subject?
I'll be good.
All right.
The flowers have arrived, and I thought tonight I was going to be upset to begin with, but it's not right to withhold a compliment either. So flowers are here, they're beautiful, and you've got them on the bridge. Thank you. Both bridges.
If anybody sees who's pulling the plants out of the bridge planters, let Danny Haynes know at the police department.
Unreal.
Because they're sneaking those out each night.
It's not
And
me.
good old Todd Eichler plants them right back every morning. We're gonna keep planting them, so if anybody knows who thinks that's clever, let us know or let the chief know. Thank you, Rosemary. Other comment? Hearing none, we'll keep moving. Ooh, oh, sorry.
That's okay. Nobody else wants to get up, so. I just would like to address you, because I know you're going into work session on this tonight. On the Hanchett property possibly being sold to a developer out of Detroit for low-income housing, and I'm sure they're gonna want some kind of subsidized on property tax incentives. This is one of the busier intersections right on Main Street going through town. And I gotta be honest with you, if I were a new person coming into town and saw that, and you will know it's low income real soon, it'd be the last place I'd wanna build or buy a house is in the city. And I know about a year ago, you guys were you were talking about paying over $100,000 to have a recount on the census because we had lost so many people. And maybe you should look at and say, what can we do to change? What do we not have in this city? A 55-year plus community? I know 2 people that are leaving the city and moving to either Mount Pleasant or Cedar Springs because they have that. We need mid-level. We don't need low income there, in my book. That's such a busy intersection. You want to know why this town isn't growing, look around and there's nothing for the kids to do. We could use a YMCA. We need a building to rent out for people that want baby showers or meetings, whatever. You see that on all the time. Where can I rent a building? There's no place in this city for that. And I, for one, don't look forward to my plants, my chairs, stuff being stolen out of my yard. And it will happen. I guarantee you it will happen. I have an issue now with the homeless people coming into the store. I've had to kick so many of them out because they're stealing from us. I don't even call the police anymore. It doesn't do any good. They're not going to put them in jail. There's nothing you can do for it. And I don't think you're paying property taxes on this piece of property. So I don't understand why you are so gung-ho to put a low-income property on that corner. And one final note, let's talk about safety. Low income is gonna be families with young kids. And we all know how parents love to watch their kids. They don't. Get out. Go outside and play. Well, the river is right there with the old dam. Those kids are gonna end up at the dam. They're gonna be at the river. Oh, look, there's a frog. Let's go try to find that frog. The next thing you know, you've lost another child in that river. I think those are things that need to be thought about.
Thank you. All right, we're going to keep moving. We're going to do a public hearing. The purpose of the public hearing is to present and review proposed sidewalk improvements for an MDOT Shared Streets and Spaces grant program. And because it's a state grant program, we're obligated to do a public hearing on the issue. In the agenda packet, there were the proposed sidewalks that we would be funding with that grant money if we were to get the grant. And I'm obligated to read these things because it's an official public hearing for the state of Michigan. Public hearings are designed to be a time for the commission to receive the opinions of various parties and to gather information in order to make an informed decision when the matter comes before the commission for action. It is not time of either commission or public debate. That opportunity will come when the item is on the agenda under general business. So we want information. I'm supposed to bang my gavel, so I'm going to. The public hearing is open. Does staff have any comments? We're going to talk about this at length at another portion of the agenda, but we could do it all now.
Your preference, Mayor.
So comments on that grant are open. Public. In the packet, you saw the very efficient look at each one of the sidewalks being done. Michelle put that together.
Would you like me to go over which sidewalk?
Well, we're gonna do that when, if nobody says anything at the public hearing, we'll get to that when it's appropriate on the agenda. Would any interested party like to make any comment? Please.
One of the issues that, or one of the places that you're going to address is the 100 block of Hutchinson Street. My name is Lonnie Durr. I live at 120 Hutchinson. I was told about a year ago that that issue had died. I was called on Friday and said, come on down and look at the plans. And I think that's awful short notice. You also, the other affected property owner was Mrs. Horn, who was never informed. I've been down there for 33 years. I've sat and babysat your pool. When the city didn't have people to send down there to sit with Cheryl Colley while she filled the place, I sat there overnight. I've, been active in your area. I have some issues with it because the sidewalk that you're proposing is gonna run across my property. Your right of way, my property, I guess. And the issue is gonna be with my driveway. Because it's gonna come up level for a sidewalk and then up again. Which in 70-degree weather probably isn't an issue. But in 25-degree weather with snow and ice, I may end up parking out on the street and I'm not gonna pay a ticket. I can tell you that right straight up front. Also, I have a classic vehicle, 2003 BMW, that the person that drew the plans has assured me it will go down the driveway and come up the driveway without issue. I've seen the difference between paper and reality. And I can tell you in reality that car better come up the driveway. In any case, your project answers the complaints of some people. It, however, really doesn't address the perceived problem. And a sidewalk is not going to guarantee compliance. People have walked down that road for years. It's kind of like walking down Main Street after home time. It's something that's going to happen. And I've been told, oh yeah, they'll use a sidewalk. Probably the people that have complained will use a sidewalk, but not everybody will. It's a habit down through there. I've talked to people and said, please walk on my lawn. This was a solution we gave a year ago when we thought the issue was active. And, people say, no, we enjoy walking down the street, and they do. So, what I'm interested in, and I've been a street cop for years, I've been a police administrator, I've worked with the DOT on perceived traffic issues and pedestrian issues. Therefore, what I would like to see is I would like to see you use the DOT for a little more insight into this issue. Like I said, the sidewalk does not guarantee compliance. Maybe it's a way to reduce liability on your part, but it doesn't assure that people are going to walk on the sidewalk. I think the complaint was driven by emotion without insight into maybe what the real problem is. And I think the problem that, that may be perceived as a traffic problem. And therefore, if you can't get people to use the sidewalk, what's the next best solution? Slow down traffic. And how are you going to do that? Well, my proposal to you is 2 speed bumps down through there that will guarantee that people will speed down through there only once. And if they make it to the other end, Curry's may have a call or Big Rapids Towing may have a call. In any case, if you strategically place speed bumps half lane going down and half lane coming back, maybe in a little bit different area, to address those people that are lighting up the vehicles coming down through there, that will address your problem, I think, a little bit better than a sidewalk. I have some personal interest in the sidewalk. I have a nice lawn. I've taken care of it for years, and I really don't want to see it destroyed. I think it's going to detract from the curb appeal for possible resale of my house. In any case, the numbers don't bear out the need for a sidewalk. I've lived there for 33 years. There's been 4 ambulances that have come down through there. 3 of them to the pool. 3 of them for grandmas and grandpas sitting down on the deck watching their grandkids in swimming lessons that have had a heart attack or stroke. 1 for a runner that has come down to the track to run that had a heart attack entering the track. That's the only 4 times an ambulance has come down through there. And traffic-wise, the numbers again don't justify the large expense of putting in sidewalk, retaining walls, removing my sprinkler system and readdressing it to my specifications. I think that you need to take a closer look at the traffic problem and understand what happens there over years, because your traffic problem is really only geared to 4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks of swimming lessons. The rest of the time, it's a very quiet area. And so, what I'm going to ask of you, and you may not consider it, but I'm going to make a formal request that you embark on a 1-year traffic study in the area before having a knee-jerk reaction to a need that may or may not be perceived.
Thank you, Lon.
Okay?
In public hearings, it's followed by the other side of the question. Do we have somebody here to speak for the sidewalk? Thanks, Lon.
Yes. Thank you.
Hearing none, are there any other further comments against the sidewalk? Hearing none, then we bang the gavel and say the public portion of the hearing is closed. Thank you for your input, and we have not made any decision. Even if we approve the bond, that doesn't mean that the money has to be spent exactly on each one of these projects. The money is there, and I haven't heard anything about the bond in those other 4 sidewalks. Is it 4 more? Right, okay.
The grant.
Grant.
I believe you mean the grant,
The
not
grant.
the bond. Yes,
The grant.
grant.
All right. Resolution ratifying the approval of Commissioner Epley's resignation. Is there a motion for that resolution?
So moved. Second.
Is there a motion and second? Any questions? Commissioner Epley had to resign because his wife was hired by the city, and then we have a policy that you can't work for the city and have a partner as a commissioner. Call the question, please.
James?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Simmon?
Yes.
Gunther?
Yes. Next is what we were talking about earlier in the public hearing, supporting the application for an MDOT Shared Streets and Spaces grant. The part that Lon was talking about is one of the projects there. The projects aren't etched in stone. Once the grant money can be moved, is that correct, Michelle?
I don't believe so. I think we can move it currently because we haven't applied yet, but I think once we apply, we would have to go with the decision of where where the sidewalks we picked are.
And how long do we have on this grant?
Due Friday.
Well,
You could.
However,
I can hear what the-
however, it is a grant request. It hasn't, right? We're just submitting for the
You're
grant.
just submitting it, and you
No
could
funds.
also do a grant, you could do a resolution approval and leave the Hutchinson one out and allow the application to the grant for the other 4 sidewalk
I don't think
proposals.
the commission has even discussed the Hutchinson sidewalk. I found out about it just when this packet came out, so, you know, the thought that you wanna withdraw it or keep it by Friday doesn't make a lot of good sense to me.
I understand, grants, sometimes we only find out a couple of weeks before they're due that.
Mark, you're the big paid city manager, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the grants are by design. I mean, when did we get emailed about this? Maybe a few weeks ago. Having a sidewalk down Hutchinson is nothing new. It's a common request from people who come and go from the pool or Clay Cliffs Park to have a sidewalk where there is none. But if you don't wanna apply for the grant, that's your call, and that's fine. That's up to you folks. The short notice is by design by the granting agencies, so they don't get swarmed with applications.
Oh,
It happens
geez.
all the time.
Well, that seems a little backwards.
That's just how it goes.
Okay, so I have
Please.
a question. If the grant goes in as is with the 5 sidewalks on second page, and if for some reason it is decided not to do Hutchinson Street, that's just that portion of that money we wouldn't get, or does it make the whole grant null and void? You know what I'm asking?
Yeah, I know what you're asking.
I don't know if we know
I
that.
don't know the answer to that question. That would be up to the granting agency, how they would wanna handle that.
If that came to pass.
Correct. If we got the grant.
Yeah, if we got the grant. So in your opinion, what is the best case scenario?
Staff tried to look at places where we were looking at places that had a lot of public interest. So we were trying to look, places where public goes often to try to connect sidewalks to make those areas more walkable and more friendly, or bicycle friendly. So that's why it was one of those recommendations. And then we also did a connection between Harrison Hospital, fairgrounds. If you're on the edge or on the border of whether you want to do Hutchinson or not, I would leave it out of the grant proposal.
Say it again?
I said if you're on edge and you don't know if you want to do Hutchinson or not, I would leave it out of the grant proposal. Because I don't think that it's necessarily worth giving up a grant opportunity for one sidewalk. However, I also think it's very important to have sidewalks to public places.
Is there a sidewalk that did not make the list that should have?
Not that I'm aware of.
Other commissioners that,
Something that hasn't been put out there yet, so I will. Of the 5 locations, the pool was the one that seemed the most important to me because it made it possible for people who are in a wheelchair or needed some sort of assistance to have a safe route from a sidewalk to the pool without having to go into the road.
Amanda?
I think all of my sentiments on this issue have already been stated. It's a very complicated situation. I walk my dog down that road. I live on Hutchinson, and I always tell my kids to get out of your yard because I taught them you don't walk on somebody's grass. That's disrespectful. But I think back to times when I have been needing a walker to get around because I fractured my ankle, and if I had to take my kids down there, I wouldn't have comfortably been able to do that necessarily. So just speaking to the disability and the accessibility, I wish I would have had more time to consider this one.
That's kind of my grouch too. We didn't have any real time to talk to each other about it or
I
any of
mean,
that, just all of a sudden there's a grant.
it seems like
That's a little speedy.
if we heard about it a couple weeks ago, and we first heard about it on Friday.
Do I hear a motion for the application for the MDOT Shared Streets and Spaces Grant?
So moved.
Is there support?
Second.
Further discussion? Anybody? Anyone? Anyone? Comments? Last minute. Go ahead.
Just one final question. Is there any other way to do a sidewalk without impacting the slope where his driveway is? So where any way to, one of the things Lonnie had said was his vehicle having clearance in the winter coming in and out. Is there any other way to address the sidewalk on that space that would minimize that?
We will be.
As much as possible?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Call the question, please.
Sorry, I thought you were looking at me. Johnson?
Yes.
Simmon?
Yes.
Gunther?
No.
James? May I ask a question before I vote?
It's probably not Robert's rules. Go ahead.
If it becomes a 2-2 vote, what happens?
Motion fails.
And then no grant?
That grant will be done.
Yeah, there'll be no, you'll miss the deadline to apply for the grants.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna vote yes.
Okay, motion passes 3-1. That's not an ordinance, right?
Correct.
Next issue. For those who are opposed, every one of those has to be brought to this commission to pay for it, whether it's a grant or not. Correct? We have to take bids?
We take a bid on the whole project.
So we don't have to bid on the whole project or bid on just each one separately?
We could do it however you wanted, Mayor, but we generally would bid out that whole project.
Okay. Next, this is the airport bonds issue, resolution authorizing the 2024 capital improvement bonds. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Mark?
Mayor, this is the last sort of official legal step, I'll call it, in the borrowing process for the airport runway extension. So we're looking at if the commission carries this forward, we were accept bids from local banks on Wednesday, and on the 17th, we would have those in front of you for the borrowing, and look then to collect the money sometime late June. So that's all I have.
Questions? This is just formality on the many things we've approved for the airport expansion, right?
That's true.
There's been a motion and a second. You could call the question.
Simmon?
Yes.
Gunther?
Yes.
James? Yes. Johnson?
Yes.
Next, resolution of awarding bids for paving the rest of the streets in Big Rapids.
Yeah.
We gotta have a cheer for that, unless we don't pass it the way today. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
And that bid was already, we had a low bidder, another local, Freddie Myers.
We did, yes.
Another good.
Mayor, can I ask that we put the alley in this resolution or the backup or something? It's not in here, and that makes me uncomfortable.
Thank you.
Well, both of the numbers are there, which started all this, which is, I asked why the 101444 was there, which we had the conversation before the meeting. I understand that, but it's not addressed in here.
I understand.
But it's there, right? I mean,
Yeah, it's
Well,
part of the
okay,
project, it's
so
just not listed.
It's just not here.
Yeah, we certainly can do that. Brad, under the second whereas, just list, what block, Kim, what block?
We're in North State, what's your address?
Mine's 710 and 706, there's two of them.
700 block.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
otherwise there's no reference to why we're using it.
Yeah, yes, we did, and whoever, I think Brad will tell you, but
We can
whoever.
do a friendly amendment, Brad?
You can amend the resolution before you adopt it, absolutely, yeah.
And do we have a motion to amend the resolution to include the alleyway behind Pennzoil?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of that amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same, motion carries. Now we're to the main issue, is all the unpaved streets.
It is. We are very excited to have this here. It's been a long time coming. The three blocks of Hanson, 800 block of Henderson, the block that leads back to the MVets in South Fourth, and the alley behind, we call it behind Big Rapids Pennzoil. There's other things it's behind. So, and that would leave the only unpaved street is the one that's shared with Big Rapids Township on the west side of the city at Monroe. So that's
Have you asked the township if they're interested in Monroe in the past, Mark?
number of times, yeah, number of times.
So they're just not interested.
Well, I mean, it's not generally my role to ask the township board. I've asked township supervisor before, and we haven't ever made it happen, but maybe another day is coming, so that'd be good.
All right. Further questions?
So to be clear, the resolution was amended so that the now therefore be it resolved clause would include the alley behind Big Rapids Pennzoil.
Right. Yeah.
Karen?
James. Yes. Johnson.
Yes.
Simmon.
Yes.
Gunther.
Yes. Mark, we did some emergency purchases and now we have to formally accept them.
We did. Our code requires reporting back. You heard about the wildland fire gear, I think it was at our last meeting, where it's in service. The price was $37,724.94. If you remember, we had a grant for that. We also purchased two Chevy Tahoes for police vehicles at a total of $104,436. And we have received those, and they're in the process of getting them outfitted for use. That's all I have. Happy to answer questions, though.
So we take those separately. The first resolution is accepting the city manager's report on emergent purchase of fire gear. Those were those lightweights that they showed us last time.
That's right.
Is there a motion?
Second.
Motion and second. Questions? Hearing none?
Johnson.
Yes.
Simmon.
Yes.
Gunther.
Yes.
James. Yes.
Next, there's a resolution accepting the city manager's report on the emergency purchase of 2 police cars. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Questions?
I have one.
Sure.
We got to see the fire equipment. You brought it right here in the room.
You want to see those
You
now?
said that the Tahoes were here.
We can have them here. We can have them here, right? Yeah, we'll get them maybe on the next meeting.
Right along.
Yeah.
That's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Can you imagine Tahoes for police cars? I mean, we'd all like a Tahoe. Jeez. Whatever. Questions further? Karen, please.
Simmon.
Yes.
Gunther.
Yes.
James. Yes. Johnson.
Yes.
Next is an ordinance to require unanimous of all 4 of us, because it takes 4 to go and we have 1 person missing, to change the new sanitation rates. The second memo sent out by Carla was crystal clear as to what's happening there. Carla, anything you need to add to that? In general, not much of an increase.
Yeah.
Mark,
Nothing to add, Mayor.
is there a motion for the ordinance adopting the new sanitation rates?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Questions?
Yes.
Please.
not a question, but somewhat is a reminder of where we're at. So we approved the new contract last year, correct?
That's true,
With the revised rates, and then we decided that rather than change all the rates, at that time, we would revisit it yearly to increase the rates. Is that?
We increase the rates yearly.
Yeah, they have in their contract yearly increases,
Right,
so
okay.
this is the implementation of that,
Yes, okay, thank you.
Other questions? Hearing none. Karen?
James?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Simmons?
Yes.
Gunther?
Yes.
Can I say something?
Please.
As far as I'm concerned, I would like you to pass on to the personnel that pick up the garbage. They do an excellent, excellent job. They have been kind to my seniors over there, and wonderful people.
Republican will want that comment, Mark. Did you get that from
Yeah, we'll make sure that's.
Be sure they know where it's from too, so they know
Wonderful job.
where they're happiest. Karen, do you want to do unscheduled business?
I do, and before I make a motion, I just wanna talk amongst the four of us. When Commissioner Epley resigned, we talked about the need for a mayor pro tem to be appointed. And so I wanted to just talk about that amongst ourselves to see if anybody wanted to do that. Give us all an opportunity to do that, and then put forth that person in a motion to be appointed the mayor pro tem. I, for one, am not interested.
The only person who came to me was Miss Lorraine James. Said she'd like to be the mayor pro tem. That's the only one who came forth. Amanda, anything?
I would be very comfortable with that.
Is there a motion to appoint Lorraine
Yes,
James
so
mayor pro tem?
I will make a motion to appoint Lorraine James as mayor pro tem.
And I will second that motion.
Questions? Somebody comment on Lorraine James, it'd be okay with it.
She's the one for the job.
Please, Karen.
James?
Do I vote for
Oh,
you?
no.
Yes.
No.
Oh, yes.
Okay,
That's what I have to ask you.
Yeah, it's a real,
Johnson?
Yes.
Simmons?
Yes.
Gunther?
yes. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Don't you ever miss a meeting.
Don't die.
Don't you ever miss a meeting.
Most likely to. Now, we're not gonna get into our square with the work session because there's too many people here who have a lot of, I think, things to talk to us about. I'm gonna give you a little history. How long has it been, Mark, that when we finished demoing?
Yeah, I did some research
Oh,
on
okay,
your request.
yeah, cause I wanna know exact dates. When does this thing become available and how much money did we spend?
It was authorized to purchase on March 4th of 2013. To date, this is really close, it may not be exactly accurate, but I have $1,026,440 invested. We first listed it with a realtor. Joe is actually the third realtor, I had forgotten about the first one, with Bonner Advisory Group on February 1st, 2016, so that's 8 years ago. And it's been, listed with, then Randy Ostrander, then Joe McNally. So that's the historical base. You asked me to look this
So
up.
the purchase price and the demolition was $1 million?
Yeah, everything involved. The purchase price $550,000, demo $296,500. We've had a variety of different consultants. We've had tax bills because we paid taxes on it. We had interest because we borrowed actually to buy the building. We had about $65,000 in interest. That's all the stuff that added up to the million. So.
Was any of that $1,026,000, did we receive any of it back for anything, any grants, anything? Nothing?
No, that one I'd have to die. No, for the vast majority of it. We certainly didn't for the purchase and all the variety of consulting things. Whether there was a component part of that that went from the EDA grant, I don't know if there was or there wasn't. I'd have to look that up.
That's okay, I was
I
just,
mean, most of that was for the bridge, construction of the bridge, so.
So to lead off, it's been a long time we've had it, and since the 3 years I've been the mayor, Mark and I, with others, have had how many meetings? When Goshen said they're coming, holy cow, we had meetings at least once a week, twice a week with people who wanted to develop Hanchett property. But then as those developers saw the mood in the county, they kind of drifted away pretty quickly. Would you say, Mark?
That's fair.
And we haven't heard back from them because that's still up in the air. So we have not had a solid offer until the present offer came out of the blue. We did not solicit this offer, but they're willing to develop the property. Now, Mark or somebody's gonna explain that whole income-based rental. All I know is there's 4 buildings on the property for a total of what, 40 million, Mark?
That's what they have.
2 of the buildings are completely market rate rentals. Market rate all the way. One is an 80 and the other is a 40%. So Mark, why don't you go through that, what this company is thinking about?
Okay, and others may have to jump in, Michelle or others. So, yeah, we have, their proposal includes 4 buildings, 138 units, 40 of which are market rate, 58 of which are 80% of area median income, and 80%, if you're a single person, is 42,400, and it ticks up from there based on the size of however many people live there. So, and that goes for all these categories. 34 are 50%, and 6 are at 40. So, 4 buildings. They talked to us about one of the buildings that has a commercial space, sort of outlined in it, that it would be a low income housing tax credit program, which then they would want a pilot or payment in lieu of taxes. And we have an ordinance that talks about that. We've done it with, a variety of other properties. And, so that's, that comes with some payment or not. It's a bit of a negotiated thing. We have an ordinance that speaks to it. The other 3 buildings would be on the tax rolls. They did talk about, the idea of having some TIF financing as a part of that, or tax increment financing, in which they pay their taxes, and then a negotiated amount is given back to them usually for eligible expenses. This is a new thing in the state that allows you to do it for housing. It's historically been able to be done for brownfield. So an example would be in the brownfield world, you would be able to recapture your money that you paid the local government for things like lead and asbestos abatement or demo or site remediation, those kinds of things. The new housing TIF that none of us have used yet allows for other things. We haven't really got that far down the rabbit hole about, number one, what they would be wanting in terms of TIF financing, and what it's certainly not up to any of us, it's up to you folks on what they would, if we got that far, what they would be able to get back. But they did talk to us about that.
The dilemma that the commission has is that for 10 years, nobody's offered us a penny. We don't have anything going on there. It sits without paying taxes. And the only people who are interested need some degree of help. And I have a lot of citizens coming in and say, if they gotta have tax relief or this or that, don't do it. So it sits empty another 10 years. That's my problem. Plus, this is the first people who are offering a pretty good hunk of cash toward that 1 million that we're into this thing with. Nobody else has even come close to that. Joe, is that true? I think nobody's come close.
No one with a viable plan that included housing. A lot of other people that were non-housing related, but nothing that included housing.
So we're wide open. We're gonna try to limit, there's a lot of people here, to 3 minutes after the commission's done.
Okay, thank you.
So be thinking about, you're up. Karen.
I just wanted city staff to do a recap of the housing study and walk us through some of the attachments that you sent us, which are a great recap, I believe, of what I'm looking for.
So back in 2000, the city did a housing study. So it's probably not considered outdated yet, but it.
2020 or
2020.
Okay.
Is when it was done. But obviously the market's changed a little bit since that time because it's constantly changing. At that time, the findings were for sale, market potential, there's a market of at least 50 new homes for sales or cottages in the city of Big Rapids each year. This includes 15 new houses for the college and university affiliates, plus 35 new colleges or new houses for all other market targets. And then that is recommended for the traditional housing unit. And then I can go further. I'm just gonna skim through kind of my finding. For rent market potential, which this is what this would fall under, there was findings that for focus on new lease for new buildings in attached formats, so subdivided houses, accessory dwellings, townhomes, and urban lofts, there are potential for 170 new or leased attached units and 155 new detached units, and that those numbers don't include, when they did the study, what they would consider college and university affiliates, so not the college kids, basically. So if you look at table 4 from your little handout that I sent you, the chart separates college and non-college related occupancy. So for the college, they think they could do 305 units, or we have room for 305 units as our minimum potential, and we have for non-college at 325 units for our minimum for non-college. So, and that is over a time frame, so it's not a snapshot in a year. So the market study shows that we have a need for housing in Big Rapids, which I don't think is a surprise for anyone. And then it also shows we have a need for both kinds of housing. We have a need for rental housing, and we have a need for new homes.
So what I'd like to hear from the public is whether they think we should just hold off and wait till somebody can do this all on their own without help from the state fed, with us doing a pilot or a tip, or are you okay with having some lower incomes and doing a deal like this? These are probably going to be a little more common.
So, but real quick, if we could get the rest of our questions answered, Mayor.
Sure.
So refresh my memory on what the master plan discussions were for this particular area. I believe it was a mixed-use housing. That's what they were calling for here.
We talked about housing at the master plan. At one of our charrettes, Hanchett was not one of the properties that we specified on, but they did do a charrette. I don't know when that charrette was done, but Mark.
Yeah, I'll jump in, Michelle. The mayor having me do historical research oh yeah, I remember that. I had a number of those moments. On December 3rd of 2018, you authorized a contract with the Smith Group to do public sessions just for a Hanchett site, of which we had. It must have been, shortly after that in 2019. And all of which, they came up with concepts, right? Not specific designs. This is from from the work that they received from their public input sessions. We can get you bigger copies, but it's all, variety of different housing layouts were the 3 different concepts that they came back with. And I think they in a narrative way, talked about mixed uses. There was always some ideas for that, but that was from the public input that was garnered 5 years ago.
Okay.
How's it zoned now?
It's zoned R3.
Please.
Just in one of the charrettes we did at the end of the year last year, I believe, there was a conversation about what types of housing and where we wanted to see housing, or what businesses we wanted to see developed. I believe our realtor, you were there, and the mayor was there as well. And I know conversations about mixed use, multifunctional buildings on Hanjin property. I believe that was discussed, and I know photos were taken of those layouts and those images, so that you have more industry mixed in with the housing to kind of create a walkable focal place. I think, was that what you were talking about, or did you not?
There were multiple things.
Okay.
There was a charrette for the master plan, there's been a lot of charrettes for that. And then, Mark, can you talk a little bit about the missing middle, Mark or Michelle? Just remind me what that is.
It's gone now.
Right, it's gone because there's either or this.
Or
There's
Linda's
no in
probably
between
is
anymore.
best. It's good.
And so, I was gonna ask Linda to talk about.
I'm not sure what you mean by it's gone. I mean, the income levels for missing middle are considered 60% to 120%.
We thought missing middle money was gone. We were told that.
Well, the grant that I just applied for Mechanic Street for my neighborhood has a missing middle component. They're not calling it missing middle, but you can gear the single family houses that I'm asking for in the grant to build a couple more on Mechanic Street to that income level, which is 60% to 120%. So if you look on one of your handouts, for like a family of 4, I'm just gonna say 4 because it's most common probably, is 45,000 to like 90,000. And actually these were just updated the beginning of this month, so actually it's a little bit higher. So that would be the income.
I don't have anything, I mean, she knows that world better certainly than I do.
Any more comments?
No.
Commissioners? Guests? Anybody?
So for discussion?
Open for discussion, yes.
So this is, we say low-income housing or whatever, so it's all, is it rentals or is it gonna be, these people are gonna purchase these places? I guess I'm a little confused on
I
that.
think they're all rentals, aren't
This
they?
developer's all
So
right.
they're gonna manage this, and they're the ones that are gonna manage this, and as far as, is that what we're?
They have 40, developments and have sold 0 or 1. They keep their places and manage them.
This is new though, correct? I mean, what they're doing, this is all new.
The building type is new.
Okay.
They do this all the time.
Okay.
But the building is being built in a factory and they bring them up on a truck and a crane, with a crane, set them.
So I guess my question is, I mean, that's a lot of units we're putting in here. I mean, because if you go online, according to the Housing Commission internet page, there's openings at Parkview and Evergreen. I mean, I don't know what do we have open, around here as far as rentals sitting vacant? I mean, I don't know that number, but I'm just curious. I don't know.
Yeah, no, Kim, I'm gonna give you this, and I wish I had more than one copy, but Linda Miller, for those who don't know, Linda runs the Housing Commission. She did a great market study here, so.
Yeah, and you've done a great job with the Mechanic Street.
Thank
I
you.
think that's been a good deal.
It's just all the different.
And I will add, if you look at this housing study this informal study that we did, you can't really take those waiting list numbers, kind of have to take them with a grain of salt, because just most apartment complexes keep their waiting list with people who applied. Big Rapids Housing, probably the only ones whose waiting list is people who are approved. So we deny 4 out of every 5 applications we get. So if you look at some of these waiting list numbers for some of these other complexes in town, these are people who have applied. They not necessarily have been approved. So you might look and say, oh my gosh, this says 15 people on the waiting list. They might only approve 3 or 4. So there's the need there, yes, but will they qualify? Just something to keep in mind.
Please,
So, how many units are we talking?
138, this development,
Where is the parking?
in the middle of all of them. Yeah, there's a picture.
Well, and this is a concept that they created for us, nothing's set in stone. What is it kind of that, what is city staff looking for from the commission today? I know it's not a decision, cause this is a work session, there's no decision to be made today. So what kind of feedback do you need from us?
Well, yeah, I don't think we need anything at the moment, other than some point you gotta tell us this is keep going or stop. I mean, what they wanna do is to have you enter into a letter of intent some point in July that would not, that would take the, Joe, step in if I misstep here, but it's to remove the property for sale. Between that point in time that you authorize a letter of intent, they would find out about grant applications in the fall sometime, and then and during that time would develop a more normal purchase agreement, developer's agreement, and a close sometime at the first part of the new year. Ballpark. So what they want you to do is sign a letter of intent. That can only be done if the city commission authorizes it and they want to have it at an upcoming meeting. This is to allow you to talk about it, hear from others, tell us to stop talking to these people if you want to, or tell us to keep going. I mean, it's all of that that is on the table, I guess.
And what we talked about too is that, Brad, we can have in the development agreement, we can dictate as best we can types of housing, percentages of different types of housing. We can't say you have to build this building and it has to have this many units. But we do have some flexibility with regards to the say we have.
Yes.
As opposed to just selling it to them outright and then kind of whatever promises were made go out the window.
Yeah, that's correct. I if you do authorize the city to enter into a letter of intent, I would encourage that letter of intent to include a provision that you would, during the period of time where they would be looking at developing a purchase agreement, you would also be developing a development agreement that would regulate those things. So that would be part of the letter of intent, and that would be a requirement before you sell the property and close on it, that they would enter into a development agreement with the city, delineating how the property is to be developed, and they would have to then abide by those terms. One of the other things as you were talking back and forth in the R3 district and the mixed use, probably the reason there isn't a lot of mixed use is because the R3 doesn't really allow for a lot of commercial use, so they would probably, if they were amenable to more mixed use, you'd probably have to entertain a rezoning of the property or something like that, so.
Somebody had their hand up in the back. Is that Pam? Hi, Pam. Go ahead.
My concern is, if you're gonna put 138 people in there, buildings, what are we gonna, what's the study on the traffic? Right now with Wolverine, the factories getting out, what's the study to get all these people in and out? And does the water perk?
Yeah, I would just add, I mean, probably it's too early to determine the answers to all those questions. That would all happen between the letter of intent phase and the
Because
closing
there's
and
not
development
enough room for all those people to come in and out with the factories. Right now, it's a mess, and I have a police officer here, the amount of accidents on that corner is very, very high. So why are we, are we jumping the gun so we can get money back?
We have an offer, so we have to hear what you guys say and decide if we're gonna go with it.
Hey, Fred?
Yes.
I lived here my whole life, and you people represent people that have invested when I hear we, when you say we, it's all of us. Because without us, you're nothing. Now I'm gonna move along. We made a lot of bad mistakes in the city of Big Rapids, and one was buying it. But that's history. Now, we know we made a mistake, the city manager's gone, that's history. I would hate to see you make probably the biggest mistake ever to happen in Big Rapids by selling this to a developer from out of Big Rapids, first of all. Second of all, residential shouldn't be there unless, well, I won't go on. But I'm just saying that type of apartment is not needed for the people of Big Rapids. You are inviting people from downstate to come up here to live with us. And if it's all about numbers and money, we're losing the real meaning of life. We want a way of life in Big Rapids, which is, we have a great police department, great fire department. I can't believe I'm nervous speaking tonight. I can speak in front of anybody. But I'm so passionate about this that you would even consider doing this. You're gonna get $500,000, which is nothing in your budget. Oh, it might do a little bit, it's a splash pad or something, but for Christ's sakes, we're talking the future of Big Rapids. What do we really want here? We want happiness, we want a way of life that we can raise our children here. There's plenty of jobs for them. A lot of them don't wanna stay here. Then build houses like you have in Mechanic. I applaud Parkview Village. That's been very well managed. I've seen them have the applicants, they call me on some of these people. They're not desirable, so they don't let them in there. That's the kind of community, low-income homes, if you want, per se, those people do a good job. I'll leave you with this. Leave Big Rapids alone. You people sit up there as our representatives. But it is our money, and we're not crying for you to make more money. We're gonna pay our high taxes, yeah. We're gonna pay for our services, yeah. We're happy with it. Live within your means like we have to do. You know, every time you get more money, it's just more money you spend. And I think that place right there should be left alone instead of jumping the gun. I think it should be left alone until something that can really be utilized there. Ballpark, splash pad, whatever, children's place to go to, I don't know. But I'll leave you that. I am very passionate tonight over this, and I hope you don't vote.
Support.
I agree. Yeah.
We build a children's museum.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I do agree too.
To say.
Leave it alone.
Yes, please.
Okay, so I may be way off base here, but like Pat, I also grew up in this town. And that corner is absolutely one of the most beautiful areas that we have in our city. And I fail to understand why it is that you haven't hired a wedding planner or something like that. They put the tents up initially. Right here was the Armory. I got married in the Armory, a lot of us did. And it was ugly. And now we have a place, they're spending $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 on weddings. We have a place where we could make money, and how beautiful would that be to see the brides down there and the wedding parties down there when you're driving by?
We're not into building wedding venues in the city either. I mean, if some developer came to us with it, I bet you we'd listen. How about a boutique hotel with a restaurant on top? I mean, I think that'd be a fun thing to have too. We just hadn't had anybody come and offer it.
I just would like to see something like that.
Yeah, we got you. Please, Joe.
I'd just like to mention, reference the economic side of this, which is kind of why we're here today, discussing this offer, because we've had an unbelievable amount of conversations with a lot of people, and I have done an incredible amount of work trying to make numbers look as good as I possibly can to create scenarios that were definitely not what we're looking at today, that the public and the commission had all expressed interest in. It simply comes back to economics. Over and over and over, people lose interest immediately. They look at the numbers and say, how are we supposed to make this work? We've had many people have stood on the property, and we've talked through a number of it's been businesses, it's been all kinds of housing, it's been condos, it's been 55+ community, it's been a lot of people especially when this project came in, it was like every day. And I learned so much from what all these people are looking for. But at the end of the day, the reason that we still are sitting on the property is because it's not economically viable. No one's gonna build, it's not gonna make money. That's what's driving the project. And so then what happens is you have these others that come and they are reliant on either density, right? Creating a lot more density, or grant money, federal money, which right now is really inclined towards low-income housing, and we all know this, but that's why these kind of keep circling back around, is because the only things that are economically viable that we're seeing people take the next step on and actually put pen to paper is something that's getting some sort of benefit, some grant money, density, creating more density. So this to them is a compromise, right, of sorts? Mark,
That
to them
that
was,
synopsis was exactly the battle the commission goes through.
yeah.
Nobody's come to us and said, we'd like to buy the property, we don't need any help from you, and it's going to be a beautiful townhouse, 55+ entity. None of that's happening. So our question is, do you want us to do something, or do you want us to just keep it a vacant lot? It might stay a vacant lot a long time.
Vacant lot.
Vacant lot.
Penny?
I failed to hear the remark that was made earlier about the master plan for Hampshire property. Could you reiterate that so we could all hear it?
Michelle, do you know, we didn't,
This property was not discussed at the master plan. We looked at the rest of behind Mechanic. We looked at property over by Fuller, cause that one's come up multiple times. And we looked at one other property, but we didn't focus in on the Hanchett property because they had previously done a charrette on it.
Correct.
So when they purchased the property, they never put a master plan in place for the property?
The master plan's always been to have housing there.
That was my question.
Yeah, no, that's.
but it wasn't done in this last
Yeah, it
master
wasn't
plan,
done.
this
Right.
one.
We just did a master
It was,
plan. I thought that's
right,
what
it was
you were
done in the
asking about.
previous
Does the-
one, and
does
then
the
it was
future
done
land
in
use
the
map have
housing
it?
study.
Yeah, I don't know if
That was
that
done in the
shows.
charrettes.
We have quoted that original master plan in the past.
Yeah, I think that's
Same
why
time, yeah.
it wasn't as direct of an answer. We did some planning, now we did a new master plan, and that's, I think, what I thought you were referring to, which, and I'm guessing it shows it as housing. We haven't got it yet. It's not done yet.
I mean, the property is zoned R3, so
Yeah,
there's a
it's-
limited number of permitted
Which is all
uses, you know, in the zone.
residential.
Yeah, it's mostly residential, so,
Well, that can be changed.
yeah, I'd have to go through
That's
rezoning.
not a big deal. You know, the other thing, guys, is you gotta have a little respect for Chris Goyle. They're putting millions of dollars in that gas station right there. Has anybody informed them that this is a possibility, getting corner from them?
No.
They know.
The city didn't formally.
No, I'm just saying. Well, it's because of the conversation. They tried to purchase it initially and the city said, nope, we want definitely not a gas station, probably housing. So they knew because of
Two
that.
offers from Chris Doyle to buy the Hanchett property.
We've already had people move out of our neighborhood because of this oil. They moved out of Big Rapids.
So I think you're kind of hearing from your constituents right now that they want you to table it.
We
Or
haven't
do
even,
away with it.
we haven't done anything with it yet.
My understanding is that this is just the first, this is the conversation, so we can get the official offer, because this is the first official offer. Is that correct, Mark? And
quite
so
some
we
time.
can make action on it if we want to, but we're mostly just getting the first official offer publicly.
They came to us in March wanting
With the
to,
site
with
plan,
this
yeah.
idea of signing a letter of intent. We talked about it at multiple public meetings between now and, or then and now. And that hasn't been formally revised that I've seen, but I think they're prepared to do that. I mean, we've had a number of conversations with them. I know from those conversations, they're looking at trying to have something to you in July, but it's just up to you guys how you wanna do it.
Linda Miller, I get the feeling that the housing commission is upset about this.
Oh, no. I wouldn't say we're upset about it. We maybe have a little bit of concern about it. We don't feel the need for more low-income housing in Big Rapids, and One thing I did want to clarify is the 57 units on the tax credit, those per MSHDA rules would have to average 60% area median income or less. So like they're proposing, if you look on that page, you know, some 80, some 50, some 40, the average of those units cannot be more than 60% area median income, which is below missing middle. So I just wanted to address that because you brought up missing middle. And you brought up, can we make stipulations on the percentages? Well, kind of you can and kind of you can't.
Right.
For that section. So we think it's a lot of housing in a small space.
Thank you.
So.
Hi. I just feel, just as a person, as your market value, if I'm coming into renting and I'm paying high dollar, then knowing that I have low income that could be living in the next building over, and I go to work like Mr. Curry said, I work hard for my job. I come home, my new car, my new truck sitting out there, and I have low income. I'm sorry to say, they don't value things, and I agree. Like she talked about, things are going to get stolen. More police are going to be available. I just don't feel that, and that corner is very, very busy. I live at the north end, I live on Rose Avenue, right by the bakery. That corner is very, come around, like you're right there at that light. With that new gas station going up and with all that housing, you're talking about 138 people, that's gonna be a nightmare with people trying to cross, going down anywhere. I feel I wouldn't wanna come in and rent, knowing that I have low housing next to me, knowing that anything could be happening. I'm sorry to say that, but I wouldn't do that, sorry. But I agree, I like it. That's one of the reasons why I moved here 4 years ago, is I like seeing the green areas, going down to sitting by the river and having some quiet time. There's not a lot of other places around here, and I think that's a beautiful space. I know that you're on the hook for the money, but like Mr. Curry said, we're not hurting for money at some point. You know, we were able to do the pool for the kids this year. We're able to do things. I really think you should reconsider what your thought is amongst yourselves about what you really want to do with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please.
Yeah, Kevin Tucci. So I manage Peak Properties. We have 172 rental units total, roughly 150 in Big Rapids. So we're a fairly large provider of housing in Rapids. So one of the things that they mentioned in the master plan was in 2013, said, hey, let's make this for residential only. Well, how many houses or how many units have been built since that master plan? You've had 830 Water Tower, which I understand conceptually was student housing. You have, Campus Creek. You have other units that have been built since then. So the rezoning of that makes more sense to me because you don't need that type of housing now. You need different type of housing. Individual homes is ultimately is more of the demand because that's what we get asked every single day. Individual housing, not apartments. And the other side of that is the objective of the community is to grow in a positive way. And show me a low-income housing development that grows a community in a positive way.
Nesbitt Fairman.
Huh?
Nesbitt Fairman.
So it as a whole, it doesn't grow communities in a positive way. It may need to fill a need, but that need isn't needed in Big Rapids, in my opinion. So just been in the business 15 years. I can tell you right now, what is the occupancy rate in Big Rapids? I guarantee it's not 100%. So that's the concern I would have.
Thank you. We're gonna wrap up here shortly. Yes, please.
A question for Mark as the city manager. What's the environmental assessment status on that property?
Thank you.
We had a phase 1 and phase 2 done, I think, in 2015-ish timeframe, right around there. But I know, speaking with Linda, that, some things have changed between now and then. So I'm certain any new developer would have to do more. But we have both of those done, 9 years ago, 8 or 9 years ago.
Is it clear?
Well, in that type of site, you're never gonna find one that's 100% clear. What they have talked to us, if I go back to those days of meeting with all those consultants on it, you can build housing on it. You can't build single-family housing on it for Oh, I think it comes in, there's like ground contact type of regulations that go along with somebody having their single-family home and a garden and that kind of thing. But, you know, multifamily units are, you know, at least at one time, we believe were able to be built there. And, you know, that's a developer concern, that they would have to investigate all that information and maybe research new, but.
Okay, thanks.
I'm sorry, can I get your name, please?
For 11 years. Real quick.
Just point of order, sir, can you please state your name for
Have
the
your
record?
name, please.
Bill Shanley.
Thank you.
I can appreciate an offer. But if it's a detriment, we definitely don't want to take it. And I'm telling you, I have real big concerns on that end of town for something like that. I really do. It's not gonna be good. The way of life in the third ward changed forever. It'll be on your backs. So just remember that. And I don't think we need that kind of housing. And we should go back to the master plan and find out what we need. Actually, I wish we could turn back time because Chris Coyle should have went. Unfortunately, they're not there. Big mistake.
The beautiful spot with the green space on the river, you want a gas station there. That's
Well,
what
I'm
you're
just
saying,
saying
Pat?
it'd be better than multiple, or whatever the apartments in.
I wouldn't put a gas
I'm
station
just
there.
saying, leave it like it is.
Oh, Mr. Luan.
Brad Luban. I cannot answer whether or not Goshen is coming or not going, but what I can tell you is I'm a member of the Associated General Contractors Association based out of Lansing. They're the largest industrial contractors in the state of Michigan, Barton Mallow and many others who build battery plants out of state and in state. 6 months ago, there was not much discussion of Goshen, but in the last several months, we're hearing more and more of Goshen and site plans being done. I think a lot of this is going to take place with the next presidential election myself, depending on who's elected and where we go with clean energy versus gas. But what I would like to say is that there is potential for other businesses to come there, or I personally would like to see assessment done or some type of research done to where we could maybe look at a community center and try to raise money, grant money and federal money perhaps for that if it's possible. Well, all I'm saying is that there are opportunities coming that are not have to be based upon tax revenue from the city or the state, private money. Let capitalism work for itself.
We're waiting. We'd love that. I mean, that's what we've been waiting for 10 years. Some private money to come and do the dang development instead of, please, doing with the state and the Fed and all that stuff. Gretchen.
Gretchen Spadowski. I just have one question. We have Linda and her resources as the Housing Commission. Why aren't we relying on that data? If she's saying that we really don't have a need for that kind of housing, then why are we even looking at it?
Money. It's all about money.
That's just a wondering I have, because to me, the data already supports the decision.
Others. Oh, hi, Ruth.
Hi. At the present time, I have vacancies, and the reason I have vacancies is because not everybody qualifies. I don't want to rent to necessarily everybody that knocks on my door. And we have seen in Big Rapids so much property, that several pieces of property, that the intended use, and they've come to the city council, city commission for certain uses for a property. And it turns out maybe they can't make the payments or whatever. But they're proposing for this particular project rents that are very, very high. And I wonder if Big Rapids has the population and the jobs to pay that kind of rent. And if they can't, they're going to find some way to make their payments. And there's so much property in Big Rapids, like the housing that was built for condos on the river. It was turned into student property. And I do agree with Pat, I do agree with Kevin. the things that they're saying, you have more to lose than we have to gain.
Thank you, Ruth. Others? Hearing none, we're adjourned.